Hello and welcome to Talking Europe. US-German relations took a turn for the worst this week. American President Donald Trump says that the EU and the Eurozone serve German interests only. His trade advisor going as far as to say that Berlin is using the common currency to exploit others and that Germany is the main obstacle to EU-US trade deals. Chancellor Angela Merkel replied by pointing out that she does not control the euro. She also spoke out against Trump's migration ban. But Merkel is also facing pressure at home. General elections are set for September and the far-right Alternative for Deutschland, AfD, is gaining in strength. The Socialist Party recently named its candidate to run against Merkel for the top job. A man well known here in the European Parliament is the former president, Mr. Martin Schulz. So will Angela Merkel remain the leader of Germany and indeed, in many people's eyes, of the EU? To tell us more, I'm joined by Mr. Elmar Brok, MEP with the CDU party, the party of Chancellor Angela Merkel. Opposite you, we have Mr. Knut Fleckenstein. You're with the Socialists of Mr. Martin Schulz. And also we have Italian MEP Brando Benifi. You're also from the Socialists, but from a country that isn't always eye to eye with Germany, notably when it comes to the economy. Mr. Benifi, Italy has often complained that Germany, with its surplus, is too harsh on a lot of countries that struggle in the EU. Do you think Trump has a point when it comes to the economic side of things?
Well, the approach of Trump is fundamentally wrong, also when he says about the euro. I mean, we have seen so many interventions from German authorities, in fact, criticizing the ECB policy, that is, in fact, the European Central Bank, the one that governs the monetary policy of the euro. It is true that, and I can agree on another kind of criticism of Germany role in these years, in the fact that being such a big and strong country, it needs to take the leadership to reform the European Union and the Eurozone. We need probably to restart our economy, a Eurozone that has more fiscal integration, a stronger banking union, and some more strong social pillar. We voted on this recently as European Parliament to have a social pillar, especially for the Eurozone.
Mr. Fleckenstein, can you understand the attacks coming from Donald Trump towards Germany?
I would like to be a bit more careful than I am because we don't know too much. But the big mouth we have heard until now is America first, and no matter whether this has something to do with our common values or not. And that means he is, of course, attacking European Union because we are a strong economic zone. We could be better, but we are. And very obviously, the values which bind us together are not so important for him.
Mr. Brok, why do you think he's, or does it just appear to us that he's targeting Angela Merkel perhaps more severely than others?
He is, in his opinion, probably she is perhaps, in his opinion, the biggest obstacle against destroying the European Union.
And where do you think he gets this idea? Because indeed his trade advisor is saying that Germany is the biggest obstacle to trade, that the transatlantic trade deal is dead to them now.
First of all, we have to say that we should not leave the explanation of euro to Mr. Farage in the United States.
Mr. Trump in the United States?
No, Mr. Farage. Mr. Farage is the mean and keen advisor, and he has learned from Mr. Farage about the European Union. So, the European Union was not founded against the United States. It was founded by birth help of the United States in the 50s and all the time upwards. And it strengthens the Western alliance overall, especially also on the economic part. And here Mrs. Merkel has followed up this line, and when he has talked about that, I believe that we should have reforms. But if you give the example of the banking union, I'm for the full banking union. But then I ask Italy, please complete the second step of the European banking union. Then we can talk about the third step.
For the local banks, also the local banks in Germany.
No, that is a clear agreement. No. There's a clear law how it should be done to implement the second stage. And you have not done it yet.
Yeah, and also the deposit insurance is missing.
Mr. Brok, you bring up...
We have an incomplete banking union due to many different things, including Germany.
It is said first step first, second step not completion of second step, third step.
But
You're calling for the third step before we have done anything on the second step.
Mr.
That's not possible.
Italy isn't the only country to call on Germany to spend more. Italy isn't the only country to call on Germany to spend more, saying that, you know, by not spending, they're not doing any favours to the other countries in the same zone.
First of all, we are the biggest financer of the European Union. Germany has given on credits, guarantees, and so on to the weaker countries in the Eurozone 340 billion euros. That is more than an annual budget.
Because nobody earns so much from the European Union as we do. It's a
true
both-sided thing.
So Germany takes more than other countries as well.
Yes.
So if you give
Also Italy, net contributor.
Yeah, but
Less than Germany.
So are you-
Germany has given to the weak country in a monetary union guarantees and credit of 340 billion euros. To tell me here Germany does nothing is wrong. That is more than an annual budget of Germany.
But
we have given as guarantees to that.
Even
that the other
Please
things are
don't
not okay
bring
in school.
this TV show to Washington, because this is the kind Mr. Trump is enjoying.
Well, let's look, though, at the economic situation in Germany. We saw it grow again last year, up nearly 2%, largely credited with increased government spending, which was, people are saying, down to all the refugees. That's another issue that divides the US and Germany, is this the number of refugees that Germany took in. We believe that, Angela Merkel, I'm being told she explained international human rights to Donald Trump when that migration ban came into place in the US. What more do you think Germany or indeed the EU should do when we have a US president putting a migration ban of such?
First of all, we should tell them that we are dealing with it properly. In 2015, because there was no preparation, 900,000 refugees came to Germany. Last year, 250,000, 650,000 less because of German policy and about European policy. And that has to be done better. That has to be taken into account.
More solidarity.
And we have to know that on the other side, and here Germany was really had the solidarity. And the second point is that Mr. Trump has to understand, when we want to fight terrorism, you have not to fight Arab states and Islam as such. That's the big difference, because such a policy increases the possibilities for terrorists.
Yeah.
ISIS is happy about Mr. Trump's policy.
It's playing into his wheelbarrow.
Sure,
When we look at Martin Schulz, the candidate for the Socialist Party, he also has an open door policy when it comes to refugees. So he's pretty much along the same lines of Angela Merkel. That policy is then being blamed for the rise of the far right in Germany, this AfD, Alternative for Deutschland party. How important, we're being told that for the first time since World War II, we could see a far-right party taking a seat in the Bundestag. How likely do you think that is, and how significant is it? Is it not a return to politics as it perhaps should be, with a variety of all elements of the spectrum?
No, I think in this point, Chancellor Merkel and Mr. Schulz are quite on the same line. And the question how strong AfD will become is not a question how we deal with the refugees, how we let them in. It's a question how we organize that. Can we have enough apartments? Can we bring them in work? Can we bring the kids in school? And of course, you need some time. If suddenly 800,000 are coming to your country, have a look to Italy and all the burdens they had already before. And we don't have a master plan for that. And
that's where the
of course,
EU is
that
failing,
needs
is it
some
not,
time. And let me just say this, I'm very sure that the federal government and the governments of the Länder are doing a lot to solve the problems which occur, and they will. Yes, we can.
On this matter, I can say also from the Italian perspective that we live in an interconnected world. The issue is not dealing or not with this matter. We have to do it. It's in front of us. So the approach of the extreme right, of the populists, I see also in Italy, the Lega Nord or the Five Star Movement, they mirror the attitude of AfD. They just try to remove the issue and try to imagine a past where closing everything could bring happiness. But we live in a different world and we need to find solutions. And it cannot be only Germany and Italy and a few countries. It's a matter also of solidarity inside the European Union.
Something that we're failing to see. Mr. Brok, very, very briefly, is that also, this migration question, though, not also causing trouble for the CDU party? We're hearing that the sister party, the CSU in Bavaria, they hold a very different angle on this migration question.
Only in one certain question, whether we have a high-limit approach which has no practical importance.
So overall, there's a solidarity still?
The solidarity in the question is not a question between the two parties, and we have to see that this migration question is just an instrument in the hands of AfD, which has in Germany only 12%.
Okay, yes, so still
we are very happy
parties
compared to our neighboring countries and our neighboring countries. And we have to see the main purpose of these parties is to destroy democracy, have the nation state over important again, which was the disaster for two wars in Europe. They're against the democratic system.
I think it's not politics about refugees. It's about social situation. And we have to take care that the refugees, we treat them fair and well, but the citizens
of Germany also feel protected. Well, let's take, before we go any further, let's take a quick look at the socialist candidate to run against Angela Merkel for Chancellor, Mr. Martin Schulz.
Schulz stepped down from the position of President of the European Parliament in December. He is considered a very popular figure, but will, however, have to cope with limited experience in German politics after spending most of his career in Europe. He joined the SPD aged 19, rose quickly to mayor in North Rhine-Westphalia before joining the European Parliament in 1994, where he served as president from 2012 to 2017. Schulz wants closer political cooperation within the EU, such as creating a European army, as well as believing in an open-door immigration policy. Schulz will also become the SPD party leader after current chairman Sigmar Gabriel stepped down, admitting Schulz had a better chance of challenging Merkel. Schulz's nomination at the head of the SPD puts added pressure on Angela Merkel as she strives for a fourth mandate as Germany's chancellor. Her CDU party currently have a 15% advantage in the latest polls over the SPD, which is closely followed by the anti-immigration Alternative for Deutschland party.
Mr. Brok, when you look at Martin Schulz and Angela Merkel, they both seem very pro-EU. For the European Union level, what would it change?
I think that is European German policy. All the candidates Mrs. Merkel had against her, she won against 3 Social Democrats. This might be the 4th one she wins against. But in Europe, in Germany, we have a situation that the major parties, the Social Democrats, the Christian Democrats, the Greens and the Liberals, are for Europe.
Okay,
and therefore,
so it won't change
no
that
other
much.
parties, just the nationalist anti-democratic party was against.
Okay, I can see Mr. Fleckenstein agreeing. Mr. Bonifi, how does that make you feel? You know, often Germany is seen as the leader, the real leader of the EU, and that's likely to remain, we're being told.
The importance of Germany and who leads Germany is undeniable also for the other countries. Martin Schulz is the candidate of also of my political family, so we support him also from my
What do you think it would change?
Side. I think something would change with Martin Schulz. He comes from this experience in Europe. He knows the flaws and the potentials of Europe. Also how it can be changed for the better of Germany, but for the better of the whole of the European Union. I don't think that if we don't save European Union by changing it in the right way, I don't think there is a future for Germany either, even if it's the strongest country for many reasons.
Well, one thing I heard Martin Schulz say after he launched his candidate for that position was that he would be prepared to let Germany's short-term economic interests take a backseat and make unity the priority for the EU when it comes to that Brexit negotiations. Would Martin Schulz, do you think, be a tougher person on that Brexit talks than Merkel, maybe?
I think both will be quite tough. There are some things they have in common, like migration, like I think negotiations with Great Britain and so on, and some where you will find differences. The austerity policy will be not the same as we have it now. And this is also, I would say, good news for the European Union. especially for the countries in the southern part.
Mr. Brok, I imagine you would not agree with that statement, and that a fourth-term Madame Merkel would be more stability, perhaps, for the EU. But we're hearing a lot from Angela Merkel, her fears over these forthcoming elections, that there can be Russian influence. How much of that is scaremongering, and how much of that is there evidence to prove that?
First of all, I think the stability she can provide, her knowledge about Europe, how she kept Europe together in dangerous situations, even after the break of the constitutional treaty already in all these crises. She played a very important role, so many people abroad hope that she will win.
No wonder she had Steinmeier at her side. Nothing could happen.
Yeah. Most it was socialists on her side, and they are also responsible for the mistakes.
Yes,
bringing out them. But I think the question of Russian interference is not a problem for Angela Merkel. It's a problem for all democratic parties in Germany and in other countries. It's not acceptable that by cyber warfare and other instruments that a foreign country has an influence on the election of another country, and that should be not possible. And I think that is in the common interest, and I have not other opinion that this is seen also by the other democratic parties, that we should fight such an influence.
No, this is clear, but the difference is that Schulz is part of establishment, but not part of the Berlin establishment.
Is that a negative in another way?
It's a risk and a chance, because I think how he speaks, how he deals with the things, he is really authentic, and people feel that. Now we have to discuss about content, and so we will have a good time until mid of September.
I will wait how he adapts content to authentic.
And move from EU to a national politics.
What are you dreaming about, Knights?
Oh, gentlemen, it's on that note we're going to have to leave it and wrap it up for this half of the show. But thanks indeed to my guests for having joined us. Thanks also to you at home. Join us again after the news when we'll be meeting our guest of the week. See you then.